We earn, buy something and save our money. Living beyond economy is impossible. What trends are dictated by the world markets and how do they affect consumers? Watch this in the program People and Economy. Annually, the world population spends about $1 trillion on purchasing medicines. In Europe, the average purchase value makes up almost $500. In Japan, it reaches $620, and in the US, $1,000 annually. Spending of Kazakhstani people on drugs are much lower and do not exceed $100. Nevertheless, these expenditures increase from year to year. Thus, 5 years ago, the average purchase size did not even exceed $40. At the same time, pharmacists do not link this tendency with the rise in incidence of various diseases, saying that people have become more careful about their health. In addition, nowadays, the pharmaceutical market offers a great many of new drugs and their equivalents at different prices. How to get a unique drug by means of mixing vitamins, water and several chemical elements. Pharmacist with a 13-year experience, Alexandra Merkulova, can easily answer this question. Every day she attends up to 10 customers who come here for unique ointments and suspensions. Individual orders are quite popular because products offered by large companies are not always suitable for all people. Then we come to the aid and make small batches for individual persons or groups of persons. Individually prescribed drugs are prepared by several people, including an analytical chemist, processing engineer and pharmacist. The production process resembles a mini plant. The chemist's task is to create a drug which would be ideal for a particular patient and which would not be so expensive at the same time. Each prescription is individual for any person. Cheap components ensure a low price of a drug. Many medicines were developed long time ago. Because of that, they are cheaper. Annually, more than 40 new drugs are developed throughout the world, statistics say. A special emphasis is made on the creation of medicines for treating serious diseases. According to pharmacists, drugs which require constant consumption bring pharmacies most of profits. The drugs intended for treatment of cardiovascular, bronchiovascular and endocrine diseases are most in demand, as they should be used on a daily basis and during long time. As for prices, they depend on many factors. The most important of them is process of drug development. The creation of one medicine can take several years and billions of dollars. The final price includes energy costs, salaries and the price of components. When we buy drugs in pharmacies, we used to think why they are so expensive and that we shouldn't give for them so much money. In fact, we pay for the research work which has been made. Each patient makes his small contribution into the cost of research and development of new drugs, which we will use in future. In order to compensate production costs of a drug, its creators patent their invention. However, this step does not allow reducing the price for such a medicine during a certain period of time. Sometimes this kind of protection remains valid during 10 to 15 years, but as a rule, the cost of patented drugs scares patients away. As a result, the market is filled by equivalent drugs or so-called generics. Generic drugs can have a price 50 or even 60% cheaper than original medicines. The quality of generics is as high as of the originals. There is no difference. A cheaper production technology and competition allow reducing drug prices. Production of generics has also been set up in Kazakhstan. The country's pharmaceutical branch is one of the rapidly developing, experts say. Domestically produced medicines in local pharmacies account for 40%, whereas several years ago they did not exceed even 15%. Presently in Kazakhstan there are 80 functioning pharmaceutical companies which produce about 600 types of medicines. Pharmaceutics is one of the most dynamically developing branches in Europe. The global pharmaceutical giants are concentrated in the UK, Sweden, Germany and Switzerland. Their annual turnover exceeds $300 billion. The UK is the world's second exporter of high-quality medications. About 45% of drugs used for treatment of serious diseases are of British origin. Last year, Europeans spent almost 215 billion euros on various medicines. Upon that, advertisement policies play a crucial role in consumers' preferences, say market professionals. A brand can play an immense role. There are many people who are ready to pay 20 to 30% more for a really good brand which they know. I, for example, will always buy drugs I have already heard about on TV, because all people know them. Almost all the Europeans buy prescribed drugs because the major part of their costs is compensated by insurances. Prices for medications can hardly be called cheap. For instance, a usual pack of aspirin costs about 6 euros and iodine solution almost 7 euros. And it should be noted that local legislations prohibit European pharmacies to overrate drug prices determined by manufacturers independently. The markup should not exceed 25% if a drug costs more than $20 and should not be more than 30% for cheap medicines. For example, there is drug package which costs $30 and there is a similar one at the price of $1. Both lie on the same shelf. It means that a pharmacist is interested in selling of drugs which are more expensive. Despite the wide range of medicines, in Europe much attention is given to individual drugs prescribed by doctors. For instance, in Germany, each pharmacy has its own production department. Local pharmacists prepare ointments and solutions in the shortest possible time and even deliver them to patients' homes. In addition, a set of handkerchiefs, vitamins and cough sweets will be added to the order as a gift. The profession of pharmacist is quite profitable. Salaries of drugstore workers vary from 600 to 3,000 euros per month, depending on working experience. Asia is one of the world's largest pharmaceutical markets. The leading companies are located in India, Japan, South Korea and China. According to research data, in 2010 the size of Chinese pharmaceutical market exceeded $40 billion. This year, experts expect a 25% increase. Along with drugs, pharmacists of China also prepare 90% of all components for their production. The pharmaceutical market of China has developed at the cost of the environment. They have built large plants which produce synthetic substances. This is a huge market with a lot of producers and consumers. Along with traditional pharmaceuticals, they also produce traditional Chinese drugs. Japan. World scientists see pharmaceutical companies of that country as an example to emulate. It is a country which aggregates the production of innovative drugs. From 180 medicines produced within the last 5 years, each fourth had been invented in Japan. According to experts, the reason for that is a number of local state programs which promise remunerations to scientists for their inventions. Japanese market is the largest market with a very high consumption level. People of Japan use a lot of domestically produced drugs along with imported medicines. This is a high technology market. Many innovations come from the Japanese market. Whereas Japan and China remain the world's leading producers of unique drugs, India increases the production of generics. For the last 6 years, the share of globally recognized Indian drugs increased more than 9 times. Moreover, last year, UNICEF recognized this country as a leading supplier of analog drugs to developing markets throughout the world. India has solved the problem with patents in its own way. It is true that buying patented drugs for the population of more than 1 billion people is impossible. Because of that, they agreed with patent holders and started production of analogous drugs. As a result, all the population was supplied with medicines. The production of drugs in large amounts is stipulated not only by state support. The profession of pharmacist is considered prestigious and well-paid in the majority of Asian countries. There, the minimum annual salary of a pharmacist makes up $32,000. The prices for drugs are quite reasonable due to low costs on scientific researchers and staff salaries. The US is the world's major drug consumer. Last year, Americans left in pharmacies $250 billion. It is even more than the total profit of all gasoline stations throughout the country. They consume medicines to prevent diseases and avoid hospitalization. For instance, many Americans constantly use aspirin to thin their blood and escape thrombosis. They also consume a lot of vitamins and food supplements. The prices for patented medications in the US are almost 60% higher than in France and 50% higher than in the UK or Australia. The average pharmacy purchase size in the US is the highest in the world and reaches almost $1,000 annually. The markups of local pharmacies are not controlled by the government. Because of that, they can freely mark up their prices and make good money on that. After that, they invested into drug production and modern disease prevention research works. Currently, many Americans prefer to cut their costs because each fifth resident of the country abandons using original drugs and gives preference to generics. Since recently, analysts noted the decline in popularity of brand and patented drugs. As a comparison, 10 years ago original drugs made up 70% of world sales. This year, experts expect a 20% drop. This trend is explained by the intensive introduction of generics and bioanalogues. Thus, in the upcoming years, bio-drugs are to make almost one-half of all medicines offered by pharmacists throughout the world. Such innovations in the pharmaceutical industry will allow manufacturers to reduce significantly their costs and, as a result, the prices of their drugs. The US is the world's principal drug manufacturer. It produces 34% of all medicines throughout the world. Highly industrialized European countries, such as Germany, Great Britain and Sweden, are in the second position with 17%. Japan closes the top three with the market share of 12%. Almost each hour visit to a doctor ends with a recipe consisting of a long list of remedies. Some of them can often be quite expensive. However, it is not recommended to buy all prescribed drugs at a time. An experienced pharmacist capable of choosing analogues for necessary pills and injections can help you to save your money on medicines. The pharmacological characteristics of drugs will be the same, while the sum in a bill can be twice as lower. The global network and development of online sales have also affected pharmacies, which shifted to e-sales. Buying drugs online is not only comfortable, but also profitable, as it can help to save up to 5% of our money. And the greater is the number of drug and ampule packages, the lower is their price. As an example, let's take a package of 6 well-known pills at the cost of $8. A package of the same drug but in the quantity of 12 pills will already cost $12 instead of $16. The price of a package consisting of 24 pills will be $26 instead of expected $32. The net savings will make up from $4 to $7. This year, the world's most popular drug aspirin has marked its anniversary. People in all parts of the world have been actively using this remedy during 110 years for treating colds and as a preventive measure against cardiovascular diseases. The drug remains to be a record holder in world sales with 80 billion pills annually.